Hello everyone, welcome to another video today, and as I'm sure you saw by the title, we're talking about exclusive games. Well, not any exclusive games. We're talking about PlayStation exclusive games. That means it's going to be the best of the best. Really? People buy consoles for various reasons. Some people buy it because of how it looks, or some people buy it because of its cool features, or because they want to increase their collection. Hell, some people just buy it because they like the sound it makes when it comes right out of the box. But the main reason people buy consoles is because of the games.
Where the video games?
And PlayStation has a lot of games. More specifically, exclusive games. Titles that people would actually buy the console for. With games like Uncharted.
Sully, we gotta move, Sully, let's go!
And Infamous.
Hello there.
Or games like the Ratchet & Clank.
Yeah, like they'd know who we are.
Yeah, they actually made a movie of that. Anyway, PlayStation does a great job at giving people the games they want. Not saying that consoles like the Xbox, which is my personal favorite by the way, and consoles like Nintendo, which is my first console by the way, are bad. They just don't have a high frequency of exclusives. I would say Nintendo definitely has a lot of them, but most of them are just considered fun, which is kind of Nintendo's motto. I mean, they pride themselves on the words fun, enjoyable, family, friends, you name it. Whereas Xbox is similar to the PlayStation, but it has a totally different agenda for making exclusives, especially as of late. A lot of people are saying that they're shifting towards the PC side of things, considering their division under Microsoft, which is known for Windows PCs. It definitely makes sense. But I'm not a PC guy, you know, no master race here. Just good old home consoles. That's what I like. So I'm not actually a fan of them shifting towards that route. But it's just a rumor. Just a rumor. Just a rumor. So they may be shifting towards that route. They may not be. I guess we'll have to see in the sooner future or later future. Whichever comes first. You pick. Anyway, PlayStation is definitely the go-to console for AAA exclusives. They give their fans several amount of exclusives per year, and their games are always winning awards. If you don't believe me, then just look up the game of the year in 2013 and 2018, and then come back and tell me if I'm lying. In the comments, of course. But that's just games that won. There's a lot more that were nominated in the past 5 years, and PlayStation doesn't even look to stop there. They already have like 4 exclusives this year that could possibly win the title. However, in this video, we're not just going to talk about this year alone. We will talk about this year, just incorporated with games that could win Game of the Year in the future as well. So with that being said, here's 6 PlayStation exclusive sequels that could win Game of the Year.
A symbol of freedom and hope. We could bring it all back if we kept on making deliveries and connecting people. He was sure of it.
Sam, we want you to go west and finish.
Coming in at number 6, we have Death Stranding 2. Now, if you didn't know, Death Stranding is an action game developed by Kojima Productions and its first game from director Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions, which, after you didn't know, he got fired from Konami in 2015. Anyway, the game was released by Sony Interactive Entertainment for the PlayStation 4 in November of 2019. The game is set in the United States during the aftermath of the eponymous Death Stranding, which caused destructive creatures from a realm between life and death to begin roaming the earth. Players control Sam Porter Bridges, played by Norman Reedus, which I'm sure everyone knows him from The Walking Dead. Really? Sam Bridges, a porter for a company known as Bridges, is tasked with delivering supply cargo to various isolated cities known as knots. He also delivers supplies to isolated researchers and survivalists, and he then reconnects them to various wireless communication networks. In its debut weekend, Death Stranding was the best-selling physical game in Japan. The game had sold 185,909 copies. This made it the most successful debut for new intellectual property in Japan, for the current generation of consoles, of course, overtaking the previous record holder, Judgment. The game was also nominated 9 times at the 2019 Game Awards show, with one of them being Game of the Year. Although they didn't win, being nominated is still a great accolade in its own right. Now, I think this one is definitely a contender. with all of its outstanding awards. But in order for them to actually win Game of the Year in the future, a lot would have to be put in the right place. You know, a lot of people kind of complained about various things within the game. Either it being its wonderful story and dull gameplay, or its confusing story and unique gameplay. Hell, even Forbes had something to say about this in their website. But underneath all those opinions, I think the game is a really good game, with its own interesting mechanics. I feel the game expands upon what very few games do. And I think for this game to actually take the title of Game of the Year, they'll have to bring more enthusiasm in the game and try to appeal to not just the unorthodox, but the common as well. Not to mention, considering Kojima's comeback from getting fired from Konami, and to having a game get 9 nominations, especially 1 for Game of the Year, well, let's just say that doesn't seem too out of reach. Also, it'll be a while before you get a sequel to this one, considering they have a couple of DLCs planned this year, and according to Kojima, the Death Stranding sequel won't be a direct follow-up. Not from this one at least, so we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens, you know. Best not to speculate before, you know, the DLCs come out, which could be linked to the story, and, you know, I don't know how all that's gonna be linked up and whatever. But it's just too early to call when we're gonna have a sequel. If I'm gonna assume anything, I'd probably say 2023 at best, because it seems like PlayStation has a lot of other exclusives lined up. Coming in at number 5, we have everyone's favorite hero, Marvel's Spider-Man. And if you didn't know, Marvel's Spider-Man is a 2018 action-adventure game developed by Insomniac Games and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. The story starts off with a human crime lord called Mr. Negative, as he orchestrates a plot to seize control of the New York City's criminal underworld. When Mr. Negative threatens to release a deadly virus, Spider-Man must confront him and protect the city while dealing with the personal problems of his civilian persona, Peter Parker. Gameplay is presented from third-person perspective with a primary focus on Spider-Man's traversal and combat abilities. Spider-Man can freely move around New York City, interacting with characters or undertaking missions, and unlocking new gadgets. Not to mention, you get a bunch of cool, amazing suits by progressing through the main story or just completing tasks. The game sold 3.3 million units, including those bundled with the PlayStation 4 console, in its first 3 days of release, making it the fastest-selling second-party video game release in Sony's history, narrowly beating God of War's 3.1 million. Even USA Today estimated the game made at least 198 million during this period, surpassing the 117 million North American opening weekend box office take of the 2017 Spider-Man Homecoming film.
You serious?
Spider-Man appeared on several lists of the top video games of 2018, including first place by Wired, second place by Time Magazine, third place by Push Square and Zero Punctuation, fifth place by EGM, ninth place by Polygon, and 10th place by the Daily Telegraph. Also, blogs like Shaq News and The Verge named it their Game of the Year, along with it also being a Game of the Year nominee, only to be beaten out by another of their exclusives, God of War 4. Now, considering Sony paid $229 million for Insomniac Games just a month before the game was released, kind of meant that they had big expectations of the game from the start. I honestly think this game has the most potential on this list. I mean, this game got a lot right from the start. Many people like that the web swinging in this game has a fantastic sense of freedom and control. Fans enjoyed the beautiful open world of New York, with the likable characters and great performances, also with its interesting story. I think Spider-Man really gave fans what they wanted up front. They gave fans a lot of what they wanted up front. But with that being said, there's still so much to improve upon, like actually having Miles Morales as a playable character. You know, and not just sneaking past stuff or taking pictures of stuff. I feel in this game, they wanted you to get a good sense and feel of Miles Morales. You know, I think they wanted to develop his character a little bit before they actually gave you an option to play him. And now that we have experienced him and that, you know, we got to see his character and as he was, it just gives us that extra excitement for the next time we see him. I also would like this game to give us better villains like Green Goblin and Venom and Sandman, along with still incorporating the enemies from the first game, which was really good, by the way. I felt like they did a really good job at mixing in popular villains like Dr. Octopussy, Dr. Octopus, and throwing some unorthodox villains like Mr. Negative and the Taskmaster. I hope they continue that in the next installment with, some other unorthodox villains like the Hobgoblin or something. I think that would be actually a really cool, side stories. I'm not saying you have to incorporate all the villains in the main story. Some side stories would be really, really cool. Not to mention, they have a lot to improve upon, I think, with the mini games. I mean, they know what we like. Us fans, our nostalgia. They know the best Spider-Man game back in when did it come out? 2002, 2003? And for some reason, they didn't involve or they didn't add the pizza missions.
Just in time. I'm starving. That was my last delivery. I'd better hurry back.
Why won't you add the pizza missions?
Why didn't you send Salim?
Salim was deported yesterday, man.
As far as the release date goes, considering they released this one just 2 months after the Spider-Man Homecoming movie, I'm assuming they'll most likely do the same thing with this one. Considering these tactics always work, they did with Star Wars and the first installment of this game, so I have no doubt we'll be seeing this game sometime in 2021, around the new release of the Marvel Spider-Man movie, which will be pretty damn cool, I think.
That was something at the fight.
On our journey, we will be attacked by all manner of creatures. To be effective in combat.
Coming in at number 4, we have God of War 2. Or some people are already calling it God of War Ragnarok. But isn't that supposed to be the name of the next Assassin's Creed game? If you guys didn't already know, God of War is an action-adventure game developed by Santa Monica Studios and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, and it was released on April 20th of 2018 for the PlayStation 4. Unlike previous games, which were loosely based on Greek mythology, however, in this installment, they decided to go in Norse mythology, with the majority of it being set in ancient Norway in the realm of Midgard. For the first time in the series, there are 2 protagonists, Kratos, the former Greek god of war, who remains as the only playable character in the game, and his young son, Atreus. Following the death of Kratos' second wife and Atreus' mother, they journey to fulfill her request that her ashes be spread at the highest peak of the 9 realms. Kratos keeps his troubled past a secret from Atreus, who is unaware of his divine nature. Along their journey, they encounter monsters of the gods of Norse world. God of War received universal acclaim for its narrative, world design, art direction, music, graphics, characters, and combat system. Many reviewers felt it had successfully revitalized the series without losing its core identity of its predecessors. It received a number of perfect score reviews, tying it with the original God of War in 2005 as the highest rated game in the series, as well as one of the highest rated PlayStation 4 games of all time on Metacritic, which I gotta say is pretty impressive to say the least. Among those awards and nominations, God of War 4 was also awarded Game of the Year by numerous media outlets and the 2018 Game of the Year show.
And the Game Award for Game of the Year goes to
Red Boy.
The game performed well commercially, selling over 5 million copies within a month of its release and over 2 million by May of 2019, making it one of the best PlayStation 4 games. Now, I feel like there's 3 games out there that can win Game of the Year twice. Obviously, one of them being Witcher 4. That's a given. Second, which would still come as no surprise, Legend of Zelda and the Breath of the Wild 2. And God of War 2. Or God of War Ragnarok. You pick. God of War 4 basically took an 8-year hiatus from its main story, only to deliver it in the most exceptional way. Now, that's really impressive considering a lot of games that take a hiatus that long don't really deliver. I mean, you can see with the Half-Life Alyx, after 13 years, only coming out with a half-assed VR game, which I'm assuming could be a good one, but I doubt it will. And games like Crackdown, which was going over the course of development for 8 years, only to get this.
Today, you throw grenades. Boom! Tomorrow, you'll be throwing cars.
One of the things that contributed to the success of this game would definitely be the combat. People liked the new addition of his battle axe. Slinging it and watching it pummel your enemies' faces is always a sight to behold. Not to mention the gameplay is a lot more tactical, with allowing you to utilize your son Artemis with his arrows to help you fight. That was also a nice addition. But honestly, that's just a fraction of this game. Its beautiful world, story, and music make the game what it is today. And I think it's really hard for a game to live up to expectations, especially ones fans have for games nowadays. But when it does deliver, I feel it does so in the best possible way. Also, God of War 4, delving into the Norse mythology now, I feel like that gives them a lot more broader way to expand the story going forward. And like I said, the rumors about it being called Ragnarok, it's just a rumor. But if it is true, then that's definitely going to be a Game of the Year candidate for sure. I mean, with all the emotions of seeing how people would react to the end of the world. I mean, I'm not saying everyone will act as good as the Kratos actor himself.
You're not a monster!
That is exactly what I am.
But it will definitely be in a way that makes the game and the whole experience a lot more entertaining.
Questions.
Why am I an outcast? Who was my mother?
Always you pushed for answers. Push yourself to the edge.
Coming in at number 3, we have Horizon Zero Dawn Ragnarok. I'm kidding. Thought we need another one of those. Coming in at number 3, we have Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Now, if you're not familiar with Horizon Zero Dawn, it is an action role-playing game developed by Guerrilla Games and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, and was released for the PlayStation 4 in 2017. The plot follows Aloy, a hunter in a world overrun by machines, who sets out to uncover her past. Aloy uses a variety of ranged weapons, with the melee being a spear, and stealth to combat mechanical creatures and other enemy forces. The game also provides you with a skill tree filled with new abilities and bonuses. It also lets you explore the open world, to discover locations and take on side quests. I think Horizon Zero Dawn definitely took us all by surprise back when it came out in 2017. The game gave people an unorthodox feel of this vast open world inhabited by machines and scavengers, or savages, you pick. I think Guerrilla Games definitely took a different route from their usual FPS genre. It seemed like the Killzone series was dying anyway. I mean, the latest game in the series, Shadowfall, was doing nowhere near as good as its predecessors, Killzone 2 or 3. So them coming out with a fresh open world RPG definitely took a lot of people by surprise, including myself. The combat is well crafted, like a FPS, with a wider range of mechanics. The diversity of combat and hunting strategies you can employ in both quest-based encounters or just hunting machines in the open world, fans say feel great. Either you're planning out your strategies to fight a giant robot, or grab collectibles, or sneak past dinosaur machines. Like I said, it's a great experience that came out of nowhere, and I think it's the reason why the game was nominated for Game of the Year back in 2017. The problem with Horizon Zero Dawn is, well, at least I think the game does a great job of combining fun aspects from a few different genres, like the story, the combat, and world building, but it's outstripped in each of those individual aspects by other games that are more focused in that area. Here's what I mean by that. It feels like they divided each aspect to where you get a fully balanced, fun game, which is great, but in order for them to take the game to the next level, they might have to solely dive into one of those genres, be it the story itself, the gameplay, or the world. You know, if they can just focus entirely and make one of those explode, I feel like the good gameplay and good world itself, but a great story will make the game better, or vice versa with any one of the two. I mean, I also heard that the game is coming to PC, so congrats to all you Master Race warriors. I'm getting something pretty special here.
Tommy, I have to finish it.
You have no idea what you're walking into.
What are you doing?
You don't know.
Coming in at number 2, we have The Last of Us 2, which I assume most people would have considered this to be first, But once you see number 1, I think you'll understand. However, if you didn't know, The Last of Us 2, well, The Last of Us is a 2013 action-adventure survival horror game developed by Naughty Dog and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Players control Joel, a smuggler tasked with escorting a teenage girl named Ellie across a post-apocalyptic United States. The Last of Us is played from a third-person perspective. Players use firearms and improvised weapons, and can use stealth to defend against hostile humans and cannibalistic creatures infected by a mutated strain of cordyceps fungus. A lot of fans consider this game the greatest, most intense, enduring, and emotional journeys they've ever had the pleasure of resting their eyes on. The game is a straight-up masterpiece. It's filled with so much immersive narrative that pulls you in as you continue playing. Most people think the game creates a relationship not only just relating to the characters within the game, but the actual protagonists you play, allowing for an action-packed adventure that seems so long yet concise. The gameplay captures humanity and society in such an immersive way. As scary as the fungi is, the same can be said about the people around you, whether you see them as enemies, scavengers, or savages. Once again, you pick, such as yourself. One of the reasons for that being is just they're trying to survive in such a crazed world, just like you are. And it really makes you think twice about the enemy. The story is one of the best stories out there today. It gives the mind perspective on if you are actually in that scenario in real life. And it's a game people replay over and over again and never get tired of it. Well, the reason for that being is because you find a lot of things that you didn't find in your first playthrough. And this can become a habit over a few, maybe even 4 or 5 playthroughs. People just like that it's so thorough and it really makes the mind think. You know, in the story, in a sense of the story, it's a very unorthodox story, but it's explained so well and the experience is that much better. And it's the reason why the game won Game of the Year back in 2013. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. If the game's that good, why wasn't it number 1 on this list? Well, that's because as good as this game was, Part 2 is releasing in the wrong year. You know, the Game of the Year award can only be given to one game, and that award is reserved for
Cyberpunk 2077.
Coming in at number 1, we have Bloodborne 2. And yes, I know you may not have all expected this, but I think it's a good choice, and let me go into why. If you guys didn't know, Bloodborne is an action role-playing game developed by From Software and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment for the PlayStation 4. It was released worldwide on March 2015. Yes, March 2015. Remember that. Bloodborne follows the player character, a hunter through the decrepit Gothic Victorian era, inspired by Yharnam, whose inhabitants have been afflicted with an abnormal bloodborne disease. Ultimately attempting to find the source of the plague, the player characters unravel the city's intriguing mysteries while fighting beasts. The game is played from a third-person perspective. Players control a customizable protagonist, and the gameplay is focused on weapons, base combat, and exploration. Bloodborne received critical acclaim, with praise being directed at its gameplay, particularly high level of difficulty, sound design, atmospheric environments, and interconnected world design and plot. Now, I personally put Bloodborne at number 1 because I feel Bloodborne is a unique and extremely fun action-adventure RPG that does what it sets out to do. The game has amazing scenery, enemy and world design. It looks and feels much more coherent than in the Dark Souls games, a lot of fans say. The combat is fast and fluid and very satisfying, and the game makes you learn the basics within the first few moments of playing it. It doesn't really hold your hand like a lot of RPGs out there. Locations like Chalice dungeons, which are vast underground ruins deep beneath the city. They offer a chance to experience Bloodborne's sense of exploration and danger, and reward in all new ways. And that's probably because they're randomly generated, which keeps the game fresh and exciting. Also, with its fantastic bosses and special mechanics, they also have co-op so you can work together to defeat tougher bosses. I think the game does so well in so many aspects. Yet, I would say it also has the most flaws out of any game on this list. Like, not enough weapons, or the healing system being pretty limited. Also, I think I heard the game was a little buggy at launch, and it has a little more flaws to say the least. But despite those flaws, the game still was nominated for Game of the Year in 2015, even with all those flaws. And I think, that's a great amount of stuff to improve on going forward. And I think they could have won a Game of the Year in 2015 if The Witcher 3 wasn't there.
All right, it is finally time for Game of the Year. You guys ready? Okay. Fan choice. And the winner for Game of the Year 2015 is...
I'd rather not choose at all.
So to be honest, no game really had a chance at that list. Because The Witcher 3 is revolutionary. It set out to do so much, and it exceeded expectations. So there's no really point in comparing that. But I don't think any other game on that list could have beaten Bloodborne, besides The Witcher 3. That's why I say that. The game does a lot differently from other RPGs in its genre. It's not the type of game that you would go all tanky in. I think there's only one shield in the entire game. Rather, you have to make smart combat choices that eventually lead to timeless and replayability and fun. I feel if you can mix those minor flaws and improve upon the gameplay to a higher level of complexity and versatility, opposed to this one, then I bet this game will be able to go up against even the best of games out there in the future. Also, I think the game has a chance to release in a year where it actually stands a chance. If the game so happens to be released on the year that The Witcher 4 comes out, well then, rest in peace, my friend. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Besides, a lot of these games actually did win multiple Game of the Year awards and various other awards from big companies like IGN or Game Informer. But in my opinion, the actual Game of the Year show at the end of the year is where it counts. It's like our industry's Oscars, and the rest are like Academy Awards. In any case, if you guys didn't agree with me on anything I just said, then please comment your opinions in the comment section below. Also, if you guys enjoyed the video, then please like and subscribe. It would make me very happy, and it would make my day. So please try to make my day. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Till next time.